What's going on, everybody? My name is Spiro, and welcome to Week 6 recap of the Halo Championship Series Pro League. Now, before we get into the standings and I do want to mention that Strongside was not casting the Pro League this week, and instead, Elamite was joined by T-Squared, and fans of the old Straight Rippin' could remember this duo from back in the day being absolutely relentless, so it was awesome to see them back together. Now, the standings for this week do show that the top 3 spots are pretty much firmly held by CLG, Envy, and Enigma 6, while the 4th place spot still continues to be an all-force battle between Evil Geniuses, Renegades, and Allegiance. And with Week 7 being the final week of Pro League matches, it seems like Optic Gaming and Team Liquid will end up being those relegated teams that are going to have to face off against the open bracket winners. Unless, of course, they can pull some sort of a miracle out of their pocket and everyone else just completely starts to fall, but other than that, it's time to get into the matches this week and see what happened. The week started out with CLG going against Team Liquid. Now, while CLG has pretty much cemented their place in the top 3 for the finals, this is a really important game for Liquid to hopefully try and break themselves out of that relegation spot. But if they're going to make that happen against CLG, there's going to be some sort of miracle that has to go on here. Now, over the course of the last few weeks, we have seen Rig Strongholds become one of CLG's weaker game types, but, not like that bothers them in any way, shape, and form here, as they completely mopped the floor with Liquid and ended up winning 100-13. Even giving Denoxide a little bit of a goose egg in this game. For someone who was brought onto the team to give a little bit more slaying power, we're definitely going to need to see him come out hot in the next few games. CLG then kept their slaying power up on Eden, starting out strong and really holding that consistency throughout the entire game, ending up with a 50-31 win. Not a stake, but a dominating performance nonetheless. Liquid actually surprised the hell out of me in Truth CTF, where they were able to keep it really back and forth throughout a lot of the time, and they actually really brought it down to the wire, where Spartan made some absolutely fantastic flag running plays to actually win them the game 3-2, and stay alive in the series against CLG. Didn't actually see that coming. Very impressive. After that last game, it seemed like CLG completely dialed it to 11 in Plaza Strongholds. They went on an initial 60-point run before Liquid was able to score any points whatsoever, and although Liquid were able to scrap a few points here and there, CLG was way too dominant, and the way they were playing, it wasn't possible for Liquid to come out of it hot. Next, we have the match of the week in Renegades going up against Evil Geniuses. Now, I cannot begin to express how important this match is for both these teams involved. It's something that's either going to make or break another team to see who's going to be grabbing that 4th place spot for the finals. Renegades came out very hot in Empire Strongholds and completely mopped the floor with EG, winning 100-14 in what I think might be upwards of one of the, largest score gaps we've seen in Strongholds thus far. EG took a pretty quick lead in Plaza Slayer, and although Renegades were able to keep it pretty close, EG ended up taking the win 50-49, even after a really weird and bizarre disconnect on the side of Evil Geniuses. I don't know, all 4 players dropped. Might have been a power surge on their side. I haven't actually heard what it is yet, but I don't know. It was bizarre. Alright, I'm going to try and keep this one quick, but it's going to be extremely extensively difficult because of the way this game ended up playing out. Renegades had net control for a majority of Fathom CTF, but EG were able to keep it really close, and they ended up tying through overtime, causing a replay, actually, of the game. And this replay was a lot more back and forth, and ended up causing another tie, forcing another replay, where we then finally saw Renegades take the game 3-1. We literally watched over 40 minutes of Fathom CTF. Jesus Christ, I was exhausted. After that unnatural performance, we then saw Plaza Strongholds be played a little bit more normal. Renegade started off very strong, and although Evil Geniuses were able to claw their way back a little bit, it just wasn't enough, and Renegades ended up taking the win 100-68. Next, we have another really important match with Envy playing Allegiance. Envy is desperately trying to cement themselves in their 2nd and 3rd place spot, while Allegiance is really trying to pull themselves into that 4th place spot and qualify for the finals. Plaza Strongholds was honestly a really great and entertaining game to watch. Allegiance kept control for a decent amount of the game, but Envy really fought tooth and nail to bring it back a really decent amount, but unfortunately for them though, Allegiance eventually took out the win at a 100-92 victory. It was really close at the end there. L-Town went absolutely huge for Envy in Coliseum Slayer, dropping 21 kills and only 6 deaths to lead them to a 50-41 victory. The more surprising thing at this game for me, though, was the fact of the scoreline. At 50-41 with L-Town dropping 21 kills, how was Allegiance able to actually pull back a 41 victory? Was that a mistake on Envy's part, or just Allegiance being a really good team? Hines made some fantastic individual plays in Fathom CTF, leading Allegiance to a 3-2 victory and showing everyone why he was the most valuable pickup that this roster could have gotten. Envy stepped it up big time in Rig Strongholds and managed to pull out a 100-32 win, despite Pistola only grabbing 3 kills throughout the entirety of the game. But knowing the Wizard, we have to assume that he had some fantastic objective play and even better callouts throughout the rest of the game to help lead into this dominating victory. Plaza Slayer started very strong for Envy, and they kept up that momentum throughout the entirety of the game, eventually winning 50-44 and showing why they are absolutely top contenders for the first 3 spots in the Pro League. Day 1 ended with Optic Gaming and Enigma 6, a very crucial game for Optic to hopefully claw themselves into 5th or 6th place and have their spot reserved for the Season 2 of the Pro League. Optic seemed to honestly not even show up in Eden Strongholds, where E6 pulled a dominant 100-9 win. Hook ended with more kills than Optic's entire team combined, and APG pulled a breadstick. Not a very positive showing from them at all. E6 stayed very dominant in Coliseum Slayer, and although Optic were eventually able to bring it back close, it was a little too late and E6 ended up winning 50-48. Though through viewing some crucial plays, it seemed like Optic more so just kind of threw that game away. They had a lot of times to bring it back in their favor, but they just weren't able to capitalize. The beginning of Truth CTF really was in the hands of E6, but Optic made some really impressive plays really fast to turn it around and win 3-2 and stay alive in the series. Optic held control in Rig Strongholds for a lot of the time and even actually outslayed E6, but they just couldn't close out the game, and E6 ended up taking the win 100-77. To me, Optic were really strong in every game past Game 1, and it just seemed like they had a lot of issues closing them out, and it's something I hope we're going to see them work on as we get into Season 2. Day 2 started off with Liquid going against Evil Geniuses. After a really unfortunate loss yesterday, Liquid's new goal should be to have the higher of the 2 relegation spots going into the finals, because that higher seed is going to have the choice to pick which open circuit team they have to play. Both EG and Liquid started off pretty even in Plaza Strongholds, but it was EG who was able to pull away just enough to take a 100-40 win. Coliseum Slayer was in the hands of Liquid through so much of the game, but EG managed to come back from an absolutely incredible deficit and swing the game in their favor to win 50-47. EG took control with 2 Cavs fast in Coliseum CTF, and they decided to keep that number throughout the rest of the game and ended up winning 2-1. Next we have Optic Gaming going against CLG. Now, being relegated, Optic really can't afford another loss right now, but CLG is definitely not going to be the team that's going to give it to them without a big fight. CLG started off Eden Strongholds very strong with a trip cap that they held literally throughout the entire game. They won 100-0, Optic did not score a single point, they got 4 kills total and APG goosed. Really painful to watch. The domination continued in Regret Slayer, where CLG ended up staking Optic 50-29, and Frosty somehow manages to make these crazy ridiculous jumps around the map. I literally have no idea how this kid does it. He's an absolute freak of nature. Fathom CTF is normally a strong game type for CLG, so I was very unsurprised to see them pull a dominating 3-1 victory here and win the series against Optic 3-0. Next we have Allegiance going up against Enigma 6. Allegiance has seen such a huge turnaround as of late, but with Enigma 6 being as dominant of a team as they are, we're really going to have to see them go huge this match. E6 started out the match very strong in Eden Strongholds. They played it absolutely perfect, rotations, teamwork, everything. It was no surprise that they ended up taking the game 100-37. Allegiance managed to hold on to control in Plaza Slayer almost completely throughout the game and won 50-47, but huge props to E6 for being able to keep up the pressure all the way to the bitter end. Both teams were very evenly matched in Coliseum CTF. Except for specifically Hugh, who ended up dropping 31 kills to lead E6 to a 3-2 victory and showing that he is most definitely a cut above the rest. Allegiance kept up some great pressure in Rig Strongholds, but E6's dominant streak on this game mode continues as they ended up pulling a victory 100-79 and taking the series win. The last match of the week is Envy going up against Renegade. Now, in my opinion, these are 2 of the most dominant teams in the Pro League that we have, so I'm pretty sure there's no doubt that we're going to be in for one hell of a good match. Renegades had Envy completely in the palm of their hands in Empire Strongholds and ended up taking a very dominant win 100-23. Plaza Slayer went right down to the wire, where the last 2 kills came from some very crucial shots by Mikwin, leading Envy to a 50-48 win. Stasis CTF was surprisingly aggressive from both sides, but that seemed like it favored Renegades a little bit more as they ended up taking the win 3-0. Now, in contrast to the last Strongholds game we saw played, here it was Envy who ended up taking a very early lead in Plaza to completely run away with it 100-13. Now, Coliseum Slayer was very neck and neck through a lot of the time, but also throughout a lot of that time, it was Renegades that was just a step above Envy and ended up taking the eventual win 50-45. That's going to do it for this episode of the HCS Pro League recap. I want to thank you guys very much for watching, and do not forget, the dates for the Season 1 finals have been set in stone for July 30th and 31st at the Novo in California. So if you're in the area and want to check out some absolutely fantastic Halo action, make sure you grab a ticket as soon as possible. And don't forget to check out the Pro League streams every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific and 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/Halo. Again, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.